So they called a meeting with the Postmaster General, and he flew in from I'm not sure where. Nice guy, came in a storm. And I said, if you thought you had stormy weather on the tarmac, wait till you talk to Cardin and me. It was 7 o'clock at night. They said, he can't meet till 7. I said, I live in Baltimore. It's only down the Parkway. I can just sit here and wait. And it was the best waiting room I've ever sat in. So we did talk with him, and I must say we had the backing of Senator Lieberman, my very good friend Senator Sue Collins from Maine, that I've worked on in a number of issues. And finally, what we said to the postmaster, and I talked about how the fact that this community's been studied, that we couldn't even get information. We couldn't get information from Ledge Affairs, we couldn't get information from him, and most of all, the people couldn't get information. And if I couldn't get information for you, how could you get information? We wanted to know what was the criteria. How are you going to save money at the post office, but how are you going to save jobs here from small business, and how are you going to look out for those vulnerable populations, particularly seniors who get their Social Security check, veterans who get their disability check, who bear the permanent wounds of war. We shouldn't wound them again by making them stand and wait for their eligibility, disability to come. So when we examined the criteria in the Durbin Amendment, the Postmaster General said, you're going to be included. And I said, I want it in writing. I will not vote no, I will not vote yes. I will not vote yes, and I will not withdraw my amendments until you have that we meet this criteria. Well, lo and behold, it showed up the next day, and then this is why I'm here today. And I fought so hard because I think about you. I think about you every day in every way. There are 9 counties on the Eastern Shore, from the Delaware line to the Virginia line. I don't think that your mail should go to another state to be processed. I don't think your mail should have to go across a bridge and come back to be processed. I don't think that should do. Those 9 counties really go over 150 miles. Yes, there are 130 jobs at stake here, and that those but because of what a post office and a post office processing center does, we need to have those jobs here. Everybody, the postmaster said, I come to the shore a lot. I know what you're talking about. I love the Eastern Shore. I said, well, if you love it, keep the Easton Mail Processing Center open. And the reason I spoke up is, again, I thought about the senior citizens, many of whom get prescription drugs now by mail. They need it, and they need it on time. I know about the small business, what we're going to hear today. They need to have access to their post office. And we need to know that we need, for small business in these rural communities, that you should not have, and Senator Cardin had a great amendment, that nothing should be more than 50 miles away. When they announced that they were going to close this, this was over 2010. I know Janie come lately to this, but we made them try to come up with criteria, and they couldn't do it. So I said I was going to fight this bill. Now you hear about gridlock, and I was ready to play my part. This bill was not going to be passed unless rural communities in the United States of America had a voice. I teamed up with Democrats and Republicans like Senator Sue Collins. She has places in Maine where they deliver mail and visiting nurses come with snowmobiles. I have that up in Western Maryland. We also have where you have to drive very long miles. We want to look out for rural America. And I said that the post office does need to reform. It does need to be more frugal. It has to be more efficient. I don't fight reform, but what I fight is arrogance, where you did not have a right to be heard, and I also fight where you serve the bureaucracy and not the people. They could not tell me what savings would be gained if this processing center is. I said, so you can't tell me how you can save money, but I can tell you how you save jobs. But the way I think about the post office is I think about it not as a business, But I think about it as a public utility. It keeps the juice going of our economy and the social safety net of our people. And I believe a public utility has to provide universal service even across great distances. And I wanted the post office to be treated like that public utility, and therefore fought so hard for you. So I used, and Senator Cardin and I both did it together, we used every parliamentary tool at our disposal to make sure the bill didn't come up unless we could offer amendments. I had amendments, 4 amendments that they did not want me to offer because it had great support, one of which is that a governor would have to certify that there was no negative impact on jobs. That also, that Senator Cardin had an amendment, you couldn't close anything if you had to go more than 50 miles to have your post office processed, and there were others. So we used them, they had common sense, they had great criteria. But at the end of the day, we teamed up with our colleague Senator Durbin, and we passed these amendments. What I like about them is they're in the spirit of reform. In the spirit of reform, they will will acknowledge that the post office needs to reform, that it needs to become more efficient, that we need to meet the challenges of the internet. The post office has done this before. They met the challenges of Western Union. I mean, they've met other technological changes before. So we are on the side of reform, but we're also on the side of our rural communities. I know very often in rural America, they think everything is for the big communities, or for the well-off, or for the well-connected. Not everybody on the Eastern Shore has the money to have an iPhone, or to have a computer, or to be able to do it. And we hope one day that bringing broadband will even be able to provide that more cheaply. But right now, the people in the Eastern Shore need their own postal processing center. So let me conclude by saying this. I want to make sure that the Eastern Shore is represented in the federal government. I wanted to be sure that the 9 counties in the Eastern Shore, when big government was trying to straighten out its big mess, that little counties and small business and the little people would not fall between the cracks. And I stood up for you, along with Senator Cardin, spoke for you. We've got our amendments in. We've kept this post office open in the Senate bill. Now we need the House of Representatives to pass the bill. And if they don't like the whole Senate bill, at least get the Durbin, Mikulski, Cardin amendment in the House bill. And let's keep this post office, this postal processing center, open for a long time. Because we want to say to the world, the Eastern Shore is open for business. You come on in here, we know how to deliver the mail, and we know how to deliver the goods. God bless you, and God bless all.